Must not be that good if you have to slather all that sauce over it. These are a lot of the comments we get when it comes to competition brisket. Today we're going to find out, do people like competition brisket or backyard brisket better? For our backyard brisket, we are keeping this extremely simple. I did a minimal trim. You guys have seen me do a backyard trim on the channel before, and now we're just gonna season it up. I am gonna start with a binder. Today I'm gonna use A1 sauce because why the hell not? This binder is just gonna help the seasonings stick pretty well to this brisket, and if it adds a little bit of flavor, I'm also not mad at that. Now that we've got a binder, I'm gonna go over top with Southern Belle. I'm gonna do a pretty heavy coat here. Now, I'm not sure if you can see it in the camera, but there is a lot of black pepper here. But briskets, in my opinion, they need a little bit more. So I'm gonna go over top with 16 mesh black pepper now. Pretty good coat. This right here is gonna be our bottom side of the brisket. I'm gonna flip this over and do the same exact thing to the back side. Now you guys can see here that there's a little bit of shiners here, and that comes straight from the meat market. Unfortunately, I can't do anything about that. So what I've done is I've gotten a piece of fat that I've trimmed from elsewhere, and I'm just gonna put it right over that just so we can protect it, make sure we don't get any dry spots. Same exact thing on the back side. I'm gonna go back over with my A1, use Worcestershire, use olive oil, use whatever you want here. It really isn't a big deal. I just literally saw A1 at the house and told my wife, hey, I'm gonna use A1 today. So don't really put too much thought into the binder, in my opinion. So back over top with Southern Belle again. Now we're on our presentation side, and you can see that black pepper a little bit more on the fat side as well. That's a pretty good coat. So now I'm gonna go over top with more black pepper. Like I said earlier, I think that brisket needs plenty. Boom. Now that's all there is for the preparation on the backyard brisket. We're gonna throw this on the Weber Smoky Mountain today a little bit earlier than we would our competition brisket because it's gonna take a little bit longer. Now we're gonna go right into the middle of our Weber Smoky Mountain with our backyard brisket, shape it up a little bit, put the lid on, and now it's time to be patient. For everybody wondering at home, I have my Weber Smoky Mountain running between 275 and 300 degrees. I'm using post oak and pecan chunks today. Now it's time to season up our competition brisket. Last night we hit it with that base. That's what we do at every single barbecue competition. So now in the morning, I'm gonna go over with Southern Belle. Now I'm gonna hit the top with a little bit of Southern Hospitality. And the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit this with 16 mesh black pepper. I still want this to have a nice bark. Even though it's gonna be a little bit softer, I want that pepper to be there. So I do have a pretty good layer of 16 mesh black pepper that I like to put on top. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put the brisket on my Gateway drum smoker, and I push it to one side. You can see that I have a water pan here. This is gonna start over the spot that does not have a water pan. I want that direct heat for 30 minutes. Now we just put our competition brisket on our Gateway drum smoker, so we want to give you an update on our backyard brisket. All right, so you can see we're building a nice bark here. It's not quite where I want it. I'm always looking for fat render, and I'm pretty much nowhere near where I want to be. So I'll actually touch this fat and feel how squishy it is. The bark is actually set. You can see that nothing's really coming off on my finger, but I do want that to render a lot more before I wrap this up. I haven't decided how I'm gonna wrap it today. Could be foil, could be paper, could be the foil boat, but I want this to keep rendering fat. There is a water pan down here that we put directly under the brisket just to protect it a little bit because we are going fat side up and the heat is coming from the bottom on this backyard brisket. It's been right at 3 hours on our brisket. Now it's time for us to wrap. This is the competition style. So I have my au jus here, which is beef broth, Kerrygold butter, and of course a few other things. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in my foil pan. And I'm basically wanting it to come up to about halfway through the sides on my brisket. And once we have our brisket pan with the au jus that we want, I'm just gonna go ahead and probe the brisket right in the middle. For everybody curious, right now we're sitting at 107 degrees internal on our brisket. I have this set to 210. That is not necessarily when I'm gonna pull it. I want it to be probe tender, but I always like to look around that 210 mark. We're gonna put foil on top and then just put this back in the gateway. For our backyard brisket, you can see we got a nice bark here, and like I talked about earlier, I want fat render, right? So now you can see when I touch this, it's really nice and squishy. That's exactly what I want. If the fat is still too hard, I'm not ready to wrap this. We are gonna go ahead and go with a foil boat today, just because we have foil here, we don't have paper, so it makes it a lot easier. With the foil boat, all you wanna do is wrap the brisket up. The top's still gonna be exposed, so we can get a little bit more bark if we wanted to. I'm not too worried about that, but we're just gonna throw this right back onto the smoker. It's right at 2 o'clock and my backyard brisket is done. You can see it's nice and probe tender, zero resistance. That's exactly what I'm wanting. So I'm just gonna put this into a foil pan, into our Cambro, and we're gonna wait for the competition brisket to be done, let it rest for a little bit, and then we're gonna get everybody to try. It's been about 6.5 hours on our competition brisket. You can see right here the brisket is splitting, and to be honest, that's kind of what I'm looking for, especially in a competition brisket. You can see there's absolutely zero resistance there, and that's what I need. I don't want this to move at all when I pull that probe out. So this is looking really good. We're gonna let this rest for 1 full hour, and then we'll slice it up and we'll see what everybody thinks. So one of the biggest differences between competition and backyard brisket is the fact that we do sauce our competition brisket. So today I have a sauce mixture here, a little bit of Blues Hog, a little bit of apple habanero from Head Country, and we're just gonna apply this to the top, let this set, and then we'll slice it up. And this is exactly the reason that we're doing this comparison today. There are a lot of people that think that brisket does not need sauce. I tend to argue the fact that it does when it comes to competition, but today we're gonna find out what people like more. Now for this brisket, we're trying to follow our competition recipe as closely as possible. So right now, I'm just gonna try and get some really good slices. So if you take a quick look at the brisket, hopefully you can see it in the camera, nice, moist, really juicy. So now I want to get my slices from this side. I'm just going to flip this around, and now we're going to start our process. So my process here, and I get my wife's help, is to get some hot au jus, paint it right over this slice, then hit it over top with some of our finishing powder. And that is exactly what I would do to put it in the box. You see right here that it is a little bit flaky. That's completely fine to us. Sabrina's really good at making it look good, even in the end. Again, we got hot au jus, like really hot au jus. Then finishing powder. And now for our backyard brisket. This right here is just a natural au jus from the inside of the brisket. We'll use that in just a few. So I'm using a slicer because I don't want to get roasted by you guys. Now if you look at a slice right out of the middle of that brisket, you can see everything looks really nice, really juicy. I guarantee you it's tender. At this point in the video, both of our briskets are done, and now it's time to see what everyone thinks is better.
By far this one.
Okay. What did you like best about the second one?
The flavor content.
Oh man, I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with number one on that one.
You're gonna go number one?
Number
okay.
one.
What did you like better about number one?
Man, just the bark on that really stood out to me. It's delicious.
Okay, awesome.
First one.
Number one? Okay.
Texture and flavor.
Okay. All right, so he chose number one. He says the texture and the flavor is better. You go to that one? Okay, what did you like better about that one?
Had more flavor and more tender.
More flavor, more tender? Okay.
Definitely the second one.
Second one? Okay.
The second one is definitely more tender and has more flavor than the first one does.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with number two.
Okay. And what did you like better about number two?
Tenderness and a little bit of a flavor that the first one didn't have.
Okay.
I like the first one better.
Okay. And what did you like about the first one better than the second one?
A little more flavor and a little more tender.
Okay, awesome.
This one.
Number two? Mm-hmm. Okay. So what did you like better about number two?
More flavor.
More flavor?
Very tender. I mean, they're both tender, but this was more flavor.
Okay. What did you like better about number two?
Everything.
Everything?
Yeah.
Everything?
Everything.
Just-
This one's really good.
Okay, awesome.
First one.
First one? What did you like better about the first one?
I think the texture is a little better and I like the flavor a little more.
Okay, thanks, man.
Dude. Come back for it.
Number one. What did you like better about number one?
Just the flavor of it.
Flavor of it?
Yeah, way better.
Okay, awesome. After tallying up all the scores, there is a definitive winner. Competition Brisket won 9 votes to 2. Are you surprised? Personally, I'm not. I know that the competition briskets that we make have a lot of flavor, they're extra tender, and I felt like everybody was gonna love them. As always, we really appreciate you guys tuning into this video. Thanks, and we'll see you on the next one.